When it comes to talking heads like me, the job depends so much on the brain trust of the folks in sports information. Kane McGuire oversees the strategic communications and strategy department for the Bulldogs and Lady Texers. He grew up in Ruston. He went to school at Louisiana Tech and has worked for Tech since 2012. Today, Kane rides shotgun on Tech Drive, which starts now. Fueled by coaches, student athletes, and all the others that make Tech go. Welcome to Tech Drive, the official podcast of Louisiana Tech Athletics. I'm the voice of the Bulldogs, Kyle Schasberger. Kane McGuire is seated to my right. The SID, right? Those three letters, all important.
That's it. 3 letters. That's all you need to know.
That's the easiest way to identify with you. Otherwise, it's a mouthful, man. And I know I'm already dragging you away from football program building, so.
It's okay. Happy to be here. This is a nice breath from being on the Zoom call with Courtney Pugh going through the football program.
Well, you're not just filling the minds of me and other media folks with historical data and all the wide range of anecdotal information. You're also helping you and your team to provide a certain level of awareness for fans, with the features and the stories and all the publicized pieces that you put out there to help enhance the power tee, the state tee, the brand that is Louisiana Tech. You're normally camping out at the TAC in the underbelly, so we have brought you into the AD suite. And again, as I told you before we hit record, very grateful for what you do for me, certainly, but also for the fans. Tennis is a big passion of yours. I would guess that is a major stress reliever, something where you can kind of go to your happy place at times when it comes to this time of the year and the lead up to kickoff?
It's a massive passion of mine, both personally and professionally. I document my tennis matches on my Twitter page, and I try to play, especially in the summer when I've got more downtime. I try to play 2, 3, 4 times a week. We're a tennis family. Wife plays. Both my kids play. But actually, I was watching Zoe Epps, who's our star Bulldog. She's in Memphis right now playing at the ITA Summer National Championships, and she's playing doubles right now. So they just split sets. So good luck, Zoe. Hopefully everything's going well while I'm doing this.
Well, again, that's the information we're talking about here, folks. We are all an extension of the PR department, myself included as the voice, but I wouldn't be where I am, again, without the services of those in sports information, what Kane's team does. You've appeared on this podcast before. It was with Teddy Allen. It was under a different name, okay, Talking Tech. This was January 7th. 2021. There was no video. I'm not sure Teddy would have.
Did you listen to that?
I did.
Okay.
I'm not sure Teddy would have been able to behave himself on camera, though. So fortunately, I've been inserted. What do you remember about that visit?
I remember where we did it. We did it on the TAC floor over in the corner. I don't know why we did it there. Not like that's a quiet place to be with people wanting to get out there and hoop, but. Yeah, I mean, I remember just having a regular conversation. A lot of what we do is behind the curtain. People see all the stories and they see all the social media tweets and Instagram posts and things of that nature, but our name doesn't necessarily attach to it, if you know what I mean. So unless you've been sort of a lifer of a Tech fan, you may hear our names, our 4-person unit. And strategic communications, like, that name rings a bell. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, they're the ones that did this and this and this. So we're not really at the front of the room. We're more so behind the scenes, kind of, the Oz pulling everything from back there. But it's fun. It's a blast. I'm certainly glad I took this opportunity way back in 2012. It's been a ride, and it's crazy to think that year 14 is here.
Yeah, year 14. I know you were always dreaming of making the big bucks and living the SID life as a kid, right? But really, if at all, how is your professional destination different from what you thought it might be growing up?
Oh, vastly different. I didn't even know this job existed, whenever I took it in my late 20s. Had I known that, it probably would have interested me coming out of college, but I thought I wanted to become a lawyer, so I was in a pre-law concentration with an English minor. I got to be senior year of college here at Tech, 05, 06, and I just didn't want to go that route. But then by then it's sort of too late, right? So I just went ahead and graduated, and it's like I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. And I think a lot of people that are 21, 22 don't know what they really want to do for the rest of their life at that point in their life. So ended up getting into banking. I know that's kind of weird, but finance industry is huge. I'm here in Ruston, so I got an entry-level spot at Origin Bank, which was Community Trust Bank at the time, and spent 5.5 years there, just bouncing around from department to department, seeing if I can find a niche, seeing if I can find a spot somewhere, and that kind of ran its course. And I'd been doing some freelance writing for La Tech Athletics, and of course I was a huge fan at the time. Naturally, season ticket holder for football, went to a lot of the men's basketball games, and stumbled upon meeting Malcolm Butler, and I took him to lunch at Johnny's one day and said, "Hey, are there any jobs in athletics that might interest me?" And he told me he had an internship, and I jumped at it. He tried to talk me out of it numerous times, but it didn't work. And I'm still here.
That was one of the things I was curious about, because there's a little bit of a gap from your graduation to when you actually started here. So started in banking with Origin Bank, and now you're here entering year 14. You love it though, right? You absolutely love it.
I do. I love coming to work every day. It's a huge passion of mine, not just with what I get to do, which is so much fun, but who I get to do it for, which is my alma mater. So that adds a little more passion to the pot for me. It's just no day is the same. You just never know what you're going to walk into. You get to go to all these sporting events. I've got to travel a ton. I didn't get to travel much as a kid, and I was always jealous of my classmates coming back from summer saying I went to Hawaii or all these other tropical destinations. And I always thought, one day I'm going to catch up. And I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know it was going to be part of my job per se, but I've gotten to go to all sorts of places, and I've got to experience a lot of things live in person, either in a press box or live sitting at a scorer's table at the court level, watching a half-court buzzer beater. It's just I've got so many great memories that I've been able to watch with my own two eyes. So that part's been a huge blast.
Now, I've been the one to really describe what it is you do, but I think it's better in your words. Describe what it is exactly that you're doing on a day-in, day-out basis, and no day is ever the same, as you just illustrated, but you're the primary contact for men's basketball, tennis, and golf, secondary for football. What does that mean? So explain to us what that is, and then how you used the word social media earlier, and Scott Matera, our last guest last week, is a social media icon. How much has social media become such a massive part of the job and the way it's evolved over time?
Well, we're a 4-person team in our unit, and so we divide up the sports among us to be the primary contact. So we are sort of the behind-the-scenes voice of that sport. We control all the releases, the record books, keep all the stats, do all the history archiving, the writing, and the social media, everything when it comes to promoting and publicizing that sport. And that also includes the student athletes and the coaching staff. So in a nutshell, that's how I like to break it down. We publicize and promote that sport through all of our channels, where it be website or social media. These days, it's primarily social media, right? So there's not a day I'm not on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook when it comes to our sports. We live and breathe it. Some days I hate it more than others. But it is fun. You get to have fun with it. And it is a direct line to our fan base. And so having that direct line from, the sport itself and the program to the fans, however way we can, pump out our message and pump out what's going on, whether that's the website or social media or whatever other channels there may be, that's how we do it.
And you've got Stephen Featherston, Kevin Alvarez, Drew Parsley underneath you, the sum of all of these pieces working together, the machine that is the sports information department here at Tech. And I'm sure there's a lot of delegating. Everybody's got their own responsibilities. Do you enjoy, now careful, people are listening.
Okay.
Ryan's probably going to listen as well. But the mentoring part, it's a prerequisite for coaches. But for you, how much do you relish in the opportunity to help develop your team underneath you?
I like teaching for sure, and so there's a lot of different areas that we do as far as needing a skill set to do this job well. So you got to have you have to have a creative mind, right? But you also have to be extremely structured, extremely organized, have great preparation in order to do this job well. And sometimes those two are hard to mesh together into one person. But certainly from a creative side, doing this job for as long as I have, I've built up a pretty keen eye when it comes to creativity, and whether that's an opinion on graphics or even some help with photography, things of that nature. And of course, I come from a writing background. I had an English minor, so I still do like to write a good bit. So we don't do as much feature writing as we used to, just because people just don't consume Louisiana Tech athletics in that way near as much. It's much more visual these days with photography and videography. But I'll certainly help in that aspect. And I just always like to check in on the guys every day. It's like, hey, how's it going? Are you in a good spot? Is there anything I can help you with? Because I've done pretty much every sport here at Tech, so I've got a wide range of coverage, and I can cast a pretty wide net of being able to help the guys out if they need it.
Well, you've wrote and produced some incredible features over your time,
well,
including this past summer, which has helped immensely in me, ingraining and immersing myself into this community and this university and all of the history that is attached to the Tech brand. We'll get to a few of those, including, records that may never be broken, Dogzilla, the history of the Joe and the all-quarter century teams. But to piggyback off the mentorship side and what your team has been able to do throughout the years, it's shown. The recognition has been there. Your department has earned 6 awards just this past summer from the Louisiana Sports Writers Association. That's felt across not just the way your team prepares game notes or tells stories and features, but there's the photography, graphic design, even radio play-by-play that you mentioned. And really, since you've been here, man, at least 5 state awards, 14 straight years. Come on, that's awesome.
It is nice. We don't do the job for the awards, but it certainly is nice to see that your work is being viewed as being good in a way. So we certainly made a conscious effort this year of trying to get especially our graphic design, our photography, our videography into more contests, to where they can hopefully get recognition for the great work they do, and they certainly got that. And then of course with the LSWA awards, we've made sure to enter that with as many entries as possible every year, and so we put up our work up against everybody else in the state, and we've come out on the positive end for the most part.
And the institutional knowledge that can be gained from some of these features that weren't up for recognition this past cycle, but I would imagine maybe a couple of these that you produced this past summer will be for the upcoming award season. So records that won't be broken at Tech, most famous number, history of Joe IA, not to mention those quarter-century teams. Among those, and I might be missing a couple, but these have all come fast and furious as we try to fill the quote-unquote downtime of the summer, which, newsflash, at Louisiana Tech, at least my tenure here, there is no such thing as downtime with the Sunbelt news and everything else that has been swirling around this campus and university. Kane, for you, though, what was the most fun for you to produce this past summer?
I knew you were going to ask me that.
You can cheat and say they all were for varying
No,
reasons.
probably the records broken, because that was the first one I did.
And that was inspired by an ESPN piece.
It was. Who? Lowe? Chris Lowe?
I think it was Chris Lowe.
Chris Lowe. And of course, that instantly sets off a trigger in my mind, is what it did. And so I read it, and of course I got a little mad at it because I thought, Troy Edwards for sure
had to have been on there.
Had to have been on there, and it wasn't. Of course, I get it. There's been a lot of college football history, and it's hard to pick just one. So, I kind of just did it on a whim out of anger, because I was like, Louisiana Tech wasn't represented on that. But then I realized, what, I can control this. And so, as a lot of my projects start out, it starts out as one thing, but it becomes something else.
It's a rabbit hole.
It is. It's a massive rabbit hole that I went down. It just kind of evolves organically. And at first, it was just football focused. But then I thought, what? It'd be kind of cool to see, beyond football, all of our sports. What records do I feel like will never be broken again? And I love research. That was part of the reason I wanted to become a lawyer, is because I love doing research. I love digging through archives and trying to find the answer to something that's hidden somewhere, a needle in a haystack. So it's a joy of mine to go look at old lanyards and to look at old record books and media guides and try to find stuff. So that one took a while because I wanted to be true to it. I didn't want to cut corners and take the easy way out. And I also wanted some variety to it as well. I mean, you could have easily just settled on a certain type of stat and then just done that for all of them. So I tried to give it some variety. So that one definitely took the longest of all of them. That was probably a week and a half project of figuring out what stats I thought weren't ever going to be broken again, and then just writing up a little story about each one. So that one was fun. What was your favorite?
I think it was the records.
Okay, yeah,
it was that one. I mean, the coach speak is, each of them were amazing for me as a guy who's drinking out of a fire hose, trying to get up to speed on the history, and all these nuggets and anecdotes, have a place.
Yeah.
And it's gaining the proper perspective for each and every single one of them. But the quarter-century team, though, concept, I mean, when you talk about going down memory lane and touching, a specific generation, and each athlete, certainly for those that know Tech and have been following Tech, I think that dose of nostalgia against certain specific players just throughout the last 25 years, that had to have been, a wild ride through the past for so many people.
Yeah, that was fun too. We did an all-decades team in 2020 for all the sports, but the main reason why we did that is because it was the COVID year and sports were shortened, and we definitely had a lot of space to fill some kind of content, and so we came up with this all-decades idea. And then it's you like to think of it. I feel like we recognize our history, especially like 70s, 80s. We do a lot of 70s and 80s and even like early 90s. And of course, that was like prime time Louisiana Tech era of sports. I mean, we were killing it in a lot of sports in that area, and they've gotten a lot of love and been showered with it for a long time. But you kind of forget sort of like the millennium on, and all the history that we've built since then. And so that was sort of the idea of just putting a spotlight on the last 25 years and the history that it's created. And so I'd seen, I think it was Major League Baseball and maybe the New York Yankees did an all-quarter century team, and I thought that'd be kind of a cool idea to do here at Tech, and it was certainly well received. I think it was real neat to see those all-quarter century teams voted on and come to fruition, and hopefully we'll be able to have that Legends Day, that Legacy Day, for each of those sports and bring back as many of those people as possible.
Well, it's awesome to hear you explain it in that way because, I think it's a sensitive thing to remember the past, honor the past, but, also pay as much respect to what has happened most recently.
Sure.
And kind of, not that you're towing that line, that kind of sounds insensitive, but it's like, hey, let's not forget to use your words and do whatever you can to spotlight and, take a dive into the more recent history.
Sure.
And chronicle that as well as, the 70s and 80s had been. So let's provide the same sort of shine. So I love that. And the way your brain works, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, to find a needle in the haystack, to find that rabbit hole and get the creative juices going, it takes one figure, one number, one record. The Troy Edwards game at Nebraska, 427, right, yards?
405.
405?
I'm gonna be mad if I got that wrong.
Oh,
I think it's 405.
I'm putting us both on the spot right now.
I think
Either
it's
way,
405.
single game receiving record that will never be broken. For that one omission from an ESPN article to then cause you to go deeper down the rabbit hole and expand and grow a piece that is Louisiana Tech centric about numbers and records that will never be broken. I mean, that's just incredible.
Yeah, I call it. I got a curiosity light bulb that just goes off in my head constantly, and when it turns on, I have to find the answer to it. I mean, it's just when I have a question that just comes up in my brain that's Louisiana Tech athletics related, I'm going to find the answer. It's like, I wonder when the last time we did this. I wonder how rare it is that this has happened. And of course, there's some websites that can help you. I know with men's basketball, StatHead helps me a lot when it comes to looking up stuff. But there's some stuff that you're gonna have to get down into some old paper, and look through records. I'll tell you, A recent one I had to do was Zoe Epps. I'm going to shout out Zoe again for Bulldog tennis. So she went 37-5 this past season in singles, fall and spring combined. It's like that's unheard of. Like 37-5 is just ridiculous. She had the greatest season in Bulldog tennis history. But then I got to thinking, I knew it was the most wins in program history, but I thought, I wonder if anybody else in the country has this many singles wins. And there's no database for women's tennis like there is a football or a basketball. So I literally had to go to every school that had women's tennis and click on every single player to see how many singles wins they had, to see if she had more than everybody. It took a day. Not going to lie, it was a lot of clicking. Finger was hurting. But at the end of it, it was true. She had the most singles wins of any Division I women's tennis player in college tennis last year. And to me, it's important to find that because it's important to share with our fans just the historical nature of what she did. And so that's kind of how my brain works and how I'm willing to go down a massive rabbit hole to find it.
Yeah, the commitment is immeasurable, man. I mean, what you have poured into this, it's got to be the political science degree,
yeah,
right?
Of course.
2006, minor in English. I mean, those two things working
yeah.
together. I mean, that's what has birthed the love child that is Kane McGuire,
No
the
doubt.
ultimate historian here at Tech, and bringing these stories to life. You and Kyle Kavanaugh, I swear, and this is a compliment, always the two smartest ones in the room.
Well, I don't know about that.
I think so. I mean, I have a lot more room to grow in my life when it comes to formulating certain concepts in my head, and you two both do a spectacular job with it. Cav talks, you write.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But I will. I'm gonna tease you. I got another story that I'm working on right now that is football related that I think people might enjoy as well. So
Awesome.
I got something else in the fire.
Thank you for wetting our beaks and heightening our anticipation even more. So. You double up as historian and wordsmith. We got that. What did you do? Well, you did the banking. You worked at Origin Bank. When you were in school, though, and I don't know if you revealed this earlier, you were trying to figure out what it is that you wanted to do long term. But like best case scenario with your political science degree, I mean, did you even have an idea of like what a dream job was at that time?
None.
Okay.
I really didn't. I don't know why. That's just how it was for me. Growing up in Ruston, at the time, Ruston was very small. So if you think Ruston's small now, you should have, lived here 30 years ago. I always wanted to get out of Ruston just because it was so small, and that's all I knew. And so I wanted to experience something else. But Ruston just has its way of attaching itself to you. Ended up coming to school here and absolutely loved it. And I just didn't know, honestly. I was a little lost as far as trying to find a career path and find my place. And working in athletics never even dawned on me. It never really did. I worked at Blockbuster, my entire 4 years. For those who don't know what Blockbuster is, you can Google it. I hear there's a museum in Colorado, so that's how kind of old that is. But I just worked at Blockbuster and went to school. That's all I did. And I didn't really think much of, what laid ahead for me. So, but, like I said, I think it was 27, 28 when I took Malcolm to lunch at Johnny's. I can still tell you exactly where we sat. And he tried to talk me out of it numerous times because it did not pay a ton. And I was married with a mortgage and a 2-year-old. So it was a challenging time in my life to sort of take that leap of faith. And I did, and part of it was I wanted to find a job that I loved coming to work doing, and that I could make a difference. And so I think I found it.
I'm glad you could work Blockbuster into this interview because if you weren't going to, I was going to.
Hey, we can talk about Blockbuster all day.
Avid moviegoer as an 80s, 90s kid, and you worked there as well. I do have a question about movies before we do let you go. Couple more minutes. I got a couple more things before the movie question.
Okay.
Favorite sport to cover?
Oh, why you got to do that?
Well, that's like somebody asking me favorite sport to call,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, they're all different, right? But what takes you to your happy place more than others?
Well, I mean, I'm instantly going to go to women's tennis just because tennis is my first love as a sport. I love to play it. I've been playing it since I was a little kid. And I also love it to the point because, Louisiana Tech tennis, doesn't get the spotlight as, your footballs and your basketballs and your baseballs of the world. And so I definitely take a ton of ownership with trying to promote and publicize that program, because if I don't do it, then nobody else will. I'm sort of like the Lone Ranger when it comes to that sport, and they've had so much success, especially the last dozen years that I've been a part of it, and of course last year with them going to the Conference USA championship match for the first time in program history, it was one of my favorite Tech memories. I keep them logged in my brain, and that was certainly one of them, with them making history that way. So I definitely take a lot of pride in that sport because of that. But I'm a hoops guy. I love college hoops. I will turn on ESPN Plus and watch the most random mid-major basketball game going on at the time. I will watch anything and everything, and just being a part of it. Of course, my first year working at Tech was the 2012-13 season, and we won 18 games in a row. We got nationally ranked that year for the first time since 1985. Won the WAC regular season title. I mean, it was a massive. We were 25-3 at one point, and I thought, man, this gig's really good. This is awesome, getting to be a part of all this and to cover it, and I've been attached to it ever since. So men's basketball is a massive love of mine as well.
Yeah, you're a hoop head. You're on the Carl Malone Award Committee also that helps select the nation's top power forward. You've done public address announcing, even aided the legend and late Dave Nitz. Almost 24 basketball games as an analyst. What will you miss most about Dave?
I think I've told you this before, but just being on the road with him, because that's how I remember Dave. He was Freeway Dave for a reason, because he loved being on the road, and he loved to just go off and to go to different places. And so, being in the airports with him, being on the bus rides, whether it was Cancun, Mexico, San Francisco, Seattle, Miami, Syracuse, New York, which was the first time he ever coaxed me into being on the broadcast with him. Like, it's just, that's what I'll really cherish and remember, just those times on the road, because that's really when you get to know people. It's just being together, because it's just you know what I mean? And so I'll certainly miss him for that. Of course, I remember, being woken up in the wee hours from my wife saying that she had gone into labor when I was in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and I needed a way to get back home, and so Dave was kind enough to wake up early that morning and drive me to Jackson to meet up with my in-laws. And it's just that's the type of person Dave was, and so just being able to be with Freeway Dave for all those years was truly special.
I appreciate you sharing that, absolutely. Just as Ruston is tattooed into your soul, being on the road and being behind the microphone was for the late and great Dave Nitz. Okay, the movies. No surprise, because of your affinity for Blockbuster, having worked there, and you just being maybe the biggest movie guru and buff that I've ever come in contact with, which, makes me feel like not worthy of watching any movie in my life, because we're similar in age, but it's like I feel so far behind what you've seen, because here's the thing. You created your own top 50 list to mimic the New York Times.
I did.
All right? Your top 50 films of the 21st century. And I haven't seen half of those flicks that you had listed, okay? Moneyball at 5, love that. Okay, absolutely love that. Nearly made me cry, because I'm with you. But Finding Nemo at 15, that was revealing, okay? Showing a little bit of your softer side. I know you're a Hall of Fame husband and father of 2 boys, so, I love that. But Sideways at 1, The Way back at 2, I have no idea what those are.
You got to look it up. I've got both of those movie posters in my office, so that just shows how near and dear those films are. Yeah, I mean, it's not fair, because whenever I worked at Blockbuster, I watched a ton of movies, and for free, because that was one of the perks of working at Blockbuster. So,
is there a greater perk in society or for any professional institution?
Not that I'm aware of. So yeah, I mean, I would keep I don't know why I do this, but I do it to myself. But I used to keep a list of every movie that I watched. Sadly, that list disappeared with a laptop that also disappeared. I would keep a top 10 list of every year. I mean, there was one year where I watched almost 250 movies, new movies, not going back and rewatching. And this is old school. You plug in, you put in the VHS tape or you put in the DVD player, and you watch these. So I do have a leg up. I've watched literally thousands and thousands of movies, and I mean, Sideways. I mean, it's Paul Giamatti, Hayden Christian Church.
Look, pour it on, okay?
This is
I need to do better. I need to do better.
It is a fantastic. If you like dry humor, which that's what it is. It's sort of like a dry, dark humor. It is hysterical. The Way Back is more of like an indie film. I do think you can stream it online now. I forgot what platform.
Are you going? How often do you still go to the movie theaters, or are you watching all these from home?
No, now I rarely watch new films just because most of them are either sequels or they're remakes or they're superhero movies. So they're not like the films that I grew up with.
But I think it's encouraging that you can still be as big of a moviegoer as you are, and not live off the thrill of actually going into the theater. Because I'm like you. I'd rather save my money, not necessarily go into the theater or build it up with all these expectations and pomp and circumstance and be disappointed. Like, let me just wait for it to come out or access the endless, infinite amount of flicks through said whatever streaming service.
Now, I used to, and I used to keep my movie stubs. I just, of course I did, right? Sorry. But I used to keep all my movie stubs. I remember the first one I ever collected was The Sixth Sense, which I think
you just tweeted something recently
because I think it turned 26 years old or something like that.
Fabulous
movie. So I used to go to the theater a ton, and there were times where I looked at it and I added up the amount of money that I spent. Like, gosh, that was a lot. And I'm sure half of those I may have been taking a date too. So multiply it times 2. But if I do watch movies now, I'm just rewatching the classics. I'm rarely watching new films, and if I go to the movie theaters, it's to watch something animated with my 8-year-old. I'm not going to watch some Oscar-worthy film, anything like that. So I'm sticking with the classics because they're good.
Love that, man. Thank you for joining us today, Kane.
Yeah,
it's been great. Is there anything else you'd like to share? Okay, I don't want to miss anything. Any deep-seated secret or something you want to flex upon us? Again, there's the tease. A story is brewing. There's going to be a pretty cool feature.
There is a story brewing, football-related. So,
You're excited for the season, though, right?
Of course.
Okay.
It's I tried to enjoy my summer the best as I could. I definitely think this summer in La Tech Athletics was the busiest summer that we've had since I've been
I'm glad
working
it's not
here.
just me, but I don't have any other reference points.
There was a ton going on, and some of it was my fault. I put it on. I'll take some ownership in that, but yeah, certainly excited. Soccer. I was a soccer SID for 10 years, so I'm sort of used to this ramp up to soccer kicking off officially the athletic season. So certainly looking forward to Thursday night in the MAC against Alabama, and it's not going to stop. All the way until hopefully June when baseball is playing in a regional. And it's full go. And of course, looking forward to all the other season openers, whether it's football on August 30th against Southeastern, or whether it's volleyball when their tournament comes around. It's exciting, and I can't wait to see what happens. We don't know, and it's a fresh season for everybody, and so the stories will be told as they are.
You're the man, and we'll be traveling together with
looking forward
men's
to
basketball. So it'll be an absolute joy. Hope you enjoyed the trip down Tech Drive as much as I did, Kane. Thank you. Appreciate you. He brought up football. That's August 30th, 6:30 start. Tech Tailgate will start at 5 o'clock, just a couple of Saturdays away from the start to the 2025 football season. August 28th, Thursday night, Rotolo's Craft and Crust. First edition of Inside Bulldog Football with Sonny Cumby and others. I'll be hosting each and every one of those shows every Thursday throughout the season. So football is here. Soccer is underway. Volleyball is about to get started officially also. The Tech Drive will return each and every week. For GB, Carson, and Jack, Kane for helping to facilitate himself from his own department to come up here to the AD suite. Our thanks to Ryan Ivey for allowing us to use this space for 30 minutes or so. I'm the voice of the Bulldogs, Kyle Schasberger. We'll see you next week from the Joe on Tech Drive.